Tonight, when the sun goes down, you will probably flip a switch and fill the room with light without thinking twice. But for almost all of human history, that switch did not exist. When darkness came, the world became nearly invisible. You could not see your own hand in front of your face. And yet, modern humans almost never lived like that. For more than 300,000 years, every ancestor you have ever had spent roughly half of life in near total darkness. So what did people do in all those hours? The answer changes everything we think we know about sleep, stories, and what it means to be human.
The story begins with fire, because fire made night survivable. The earliest strong evidence of humans controlling fire comes from Wonderwork Cave in South Africa about 1 million years ago. Fire did more than keep people warm. It reorganized the human day. Before it, our ancestors behaved like other primates. When the sun went down, they stayed still, climbed to safety, or hid. Moving at night meant becoming prey. Our eyes were no match for the hunters that could see in the dark. Fire changed that equation immediately, creating a small circle of safety that redefined what night could be.
A campfire created more than warmth. It created a boundary. Inside that circle, people were safer. Outside it, danger waited. Anthropologists studying modern hunter-gatherer groups have found that people who wander away from the fire at night are far more likely to be killed by predators. Even now, that pattern remains real. But the most important change was not just protection. Fire gave humans something they had never truly had before: extra hours. Once sunset no longer meant the end of activity, the day expanded. Those additional hours did not just lengthen life. Over generations, they reshaped human behavior itself, and what happened around that fire was only the beginning.
In 2014, anthropologist Polly Weissner studied conversations among the Jew Hawansi, Bushmen of the Kalahari, one of the last communities living close to an old human pattern. What she found was striking. During the day, most conversation was practical: hunting, plants, logistics, trade, daily survival. But at night, everything changed. Around the fire, conversation became stories. Tales from distant places, myths, adventures, jokes that made the whole camp laugh. Weissner argued that this fire-lit conversation was where human culture was born. The campfire became the first theatre, the first classroom, the first church. And yet, the night held another secret, even deeper than storytelling. Most people assume humans have always slept the way we sleep now, in one long stretch. They are wrong. In 2001, historian Roger Urkich published research that changed sleep science. After 16 years of digging through historical records, he found more than 500 references to something called first sleep and second sleep. These came from prayer books, court records, diaries, medical texts, letters, and even Homer. Before the industrial age, people often went to bed soon after sunset, slept for about 4 hours, woke for 1 or 2 hours, then slept again until dawn. This was not insomnia. It was normal. And what they did during that middle hour is where the story gets even stranger. That wakeful period in the middle of the night was not wasted time. People used it for almost everything. A 16th century French physician even suggested couples conceive children during this window because they would do it better. Others visited neighbours, interpreted dreams while they were still fresh, or simply lay in the dark and thought. A doctor's manual from the 1500s advised patients that the best time to study and reflect was during the watch, the quiet space between first and second sleep. Historians had read these references for centuries, but many kept translating them incorrectly, unable to imagine that humans ever slept differently. The next discovery proved they were wrong. In 1992, psychiatrist Thomas Weir ran an experiment at the National Institute of Mental Health that helped confirm the old pattern. He asked volunteers to live without artificial light. For 1 month, they experienced 14 hours of darkness each night, closer to the world our ancestors knew before fire and electricity stretched the evening. Within weeks, every participant settled into the same rhythm, about 4 hours of sleep, 1 to 3 hours awake, then another 4 hours of sleep. No one taught them to do it, no one suggested it. Their bodies simply did it, as if an ancient program had been waiting beneath centuries of light. And what Weir measured next was even more surprising.
During that middle waking period, Weir found something remarkable. The participants were producing elevated prolactin, the same hormone linked with meditation and after orgasm. They did not describe restlessness or frustration. They felt peaceful, reflective, almost meditative. This was not just a gap between sleeps, it was a distinct state of consciousness, one most modern humans have never experienced. So what destroyed it? The answer is simpler than people expect. It was not war or medicine or morality. It was light. Once night stopped being dark, the old rhythm began to collapse, and the human relationship with darkness changed forever.
In the 1600s, cities began installing street lamps. Paris was among the first under Louis XIV, who wanted to reduce crime. London followed. Slowly, the night became navigable. Then came cheaper candles, then gas lamps in the 1800s. Then, in 1879, Thomas Edison commercialized the electric light bulb. Within a generation, the night humans had known for 300,000 years was gone. But this was not only a technological shift, it was a psychological one. The darkness that had once shaped survival, sleep, and storytelling started to disappear, and the language we still use today reveals just how much fear that old night once held.
The word curfew comes from the French couvre-feu, meaning cover fire. In medieval towns, a bell rang at night to tell people to cover or extinguish their fires. Night was supposed to be dark. Night was when you slept. Night was when you were vulnerable. For most of history, being outside after dark was suspicious. In many medieval European cities, walking without a lantern could even be illegal. Night belonged to criminals, danger, and the supernatural. People feared it in a way that is hard for us to understand now. And then we conquered it, flooded it with light, and called that progress. But the price of that victory was higher than we realized.
Modern humans are exposed to artificial light for an average of 7 to 8 hours after sunset. That matters more than most people realize. Blue light from screens suppresses melatonin, the hormone that helps regulate sleep. Your body does not know the difference between a light bulb and the sun. When light hits your retina at 11 p.m., your brain thinks it's daytime. Melatonin is delayed. Sleep becomes fragmented. Circadian rhythm gets disrupted. This is not a small problem. It is a biological mismatch between ancient programming and modern life, and researchers have shown how quickly the body remembers what it was built to do.
People who go camping for just 1 week without artificial light can reset their melatonin cycles by nearly 2 hours. Their bodies begin producing melatonin at sunset instead of hours later. That is all it takes for the old rhythm to start returning. We did not simply change when we sleep, we removed an entire phase of human consciousness. The quiet, reflective state between first and second sleep, the state described for centuries as peaceful and meditative, almost vanished. In its place, many people now experience something else entirely, waking in the middle of the night and assuming something is wrong. But what if nothing is wrong at all? What if waking up at 2 a.m. and lying there in the dark is not a malfunction? What if your body is not breaking down, but remembering something older than modern life? For 300,000 years, your ancestors lived nights in a rhythm science is only now beginning to understand. They sat around fires and told stories that built civilizations. They slept in 2 phases with a quiet window in between. They lived under darkness so complete that the Milky Way was not a destination, it was simply the sky. And every night when they woke between sleeps, they had time to think, remember, and listen.
That forgotten hour may explain more than we ever realized.
In that dark middle of the night, people were alone with their thoughts in a way most of us no longer are. They reflected on their lives, their dreams, their fears, and the world they would wake up to in the morning. They did not reach for a screen. They did not chase sleep. They simply existed in the silence. That space may have shaped imagination, prayer, intimacy, and reflection itself. We call our modern struggle insomnia, but perhaps we are judging the body by the wrong standard. Perhaps the real problem is not that we wake up. Perhaps the real problem is that we no longer know what to do with the darkness when we do. We traded all of that for a light switch, and most of us never even noticed it was gone. We gained convenience, safety, and control over the night, but we lost the long, dark rhythm that shaped human culture for hundreds of thousands of years. We lost the firelit stories, the two-part sleep, the calm hour of reflection, and the sky so dark the Milky Way was just there, overhead, every night. Maybe that is why darkness still feels unsettling, even now. It remembers us, and we remember it. The next time you wake in the middle of the night, maybe do not panic, maybe listen. Maybe that ancient human rhythm is still trying to speak.